Hi everyone. I just need confirmation from my crew whether if my audio is going through. Audio going through, thank you. Okay, this is actually just what we call a pre-show. So in the pre-show itself, normally I will use this pre-show period for me to do a little bit of like sound check, camera check, and also to say hi to the audience. So the pre-show is more like touch based with all the audience, with all the participants, so that they know that we are all connected. We can have a casual. Slide, thank you. And also, as we all know in Facebook, the algorithm is such that it will take about 10 minutes for Facebook to actually send all the notifications to all those who have indicated they are interested to attend this event, so that they will give them enough time for them to log in. So it takes a while for all the audience to come on board before we can actually go into proper. That's why this pre-show is kind of like slightly special, allocated time for Facebook Live. Of course, in a live webinar, we don't do that. Live webinar, we actually go straight cut into the camera feed all the way at the beginning, and then we will start the streaming already. But for Facebook, to take advantage of Facebook's feature, we usually have this pre-show. So, oh, Nicholas, is it the off sync? Maybe I'll just check with my crew wise. Can you check lip sync? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, well, we have just checked the lip sync is correct. Basically, it will take a while for the Facebook algorithm to just catch up. So let me just check on my phone. Gregory is online. Virginia Tong is watching. Sylvester, hi Sylvester. Wang Shengxiong. Okay. Let's see who else is coming on board. So, okay, so right now you are seeing here is actually the physical studio that I run. I have two such studios. Each studio is about 60 square meter. It's about 7 or 8 meter by 7 meter by 4.7 meter. So it's actually a professional studio set up or built by Spring Forest for the purpose of live webinar and case like this. So we have ceiling lights, all the so-called lantern lights to light up the entire green screen to make sure that they are all evenly lighted. This is a carpet green floor so that it is more lasting. These are all cyclorama wall itself. Show you a little bit of the lights that we have. Camera operator, can you please maybe tilt the camera up to show them the lightings that we have? Okay, these are all the lantern lights that we have. Pan all the way to to this side. Okay, this is actually my control station. We have a mannequin here. The mannequin actually helps us in a sense of where we need to do lighting test and camera adjustment. The mannequin actually will be put in place. And this is our missing so-called room. And my crew are usually inside. The director, the producer are usually inside to do the production. Okay, we actually have a roving camera. The roving camera, maybe, can we overlay the roving camera? Okay, what you see at the bottom here is the capture of the roving camera, which is actually inside the studio itself. So it's just showing you the machines that we have right now. We have a 3D engine, we have vMix, which is actually the streaming vMix as well as a graphics vMix. We have two graphics vMix. Their purpose is to mix the video or PowerPoint and throw it into the wall. Later, when we actually go into the actual show itself, we will also have the roving camera coming into the studio itself and show you how does it look like from a presenter's point of view. We will do that later when we cut into that. So in this particular episode, we have done actually one episode already. Basically, is to explain the difference between 3D virtual studio production as well as a 2D green screen production, and what is the difference between a tracking camera and a trackless camera. But today's episode is more like behind the scene. So you see a little bit more on the raw feed, what we are doing to produce a webinar and what the presenters or the client will experience when they are here. What do they see? So you'll see a little bit more of a presenter's view. So in productions, normally we do quite a lot of different type of productions, including hybrid, of course, green screen productions. Obviously, during the COVID-19, during the circuit breaker itself, we started to build studios. We actually built a very small studio, which is about 25 square meters. And we have actually expanded and we moved, and we actually gone into a much bigger productions. We've moved. We used to be at Toa Payoh, and we actually moved to Nok Hom Tu at Gambas Crescent to a much bigger space, and we fitted up with two ISP. We have Singtel and StarHub, and we have instant failover device to actually boost our internet connectivity. And the two studio has its own individual power DB box, so that power supplies are ample. As you know, in a green screen studio itself, we need a lot of lightings. So these are actually draw a lot of power. And the studio is segregated between the two studios. The network is segregated using VLAN, so that one productions would not affect the other productions. And all our PCs, our equipments are actually backed up with UPS. Again, that helps stabilize the current and stabilize the electrical output, and also help prevent so-called sudden surge that might affect the performance or the delivery of the webinar itself. So we have done quite a lot of webinar since then. And October last year, we decided to actually move into a 3D productions platform. So the production platform for 3D actually gave us a lot of opportunity because we can actually scale up our type of productions that we have. We go into virtual studio sets, which means that instead of a regular virtual backdrop or digital replacement, we actually give it a little bit more realism in a sense. And then recently we have upgraded our camera systems into Sony BRC X1000, which is actually a tracking camera. And that actually added a lot of realism into the whole process itself. So later you will get to see how the camera actually behaves and how it actually helps us in the 3D studio kind of setup. The camera is tracking. What do I mean by tracking? It means that as I walk into the different parts of the room, the camera, the camera operator in the mixing stations is able to move the camera and track according to where I'm standing. So I don't have to be tied up in a single locations, because in a single camera, in a green screen environment, cameras are not supposedly limited to movement. That means once the camera is pointing at this direction, that's it. But for a tracking camera, it actually gives us this flexibility. That means as I walk, it is able to point and the background actually changes. Right now, what you're seeing is actually a raw feed, so it might not be so obvious. But once we actually cut into the actual feed itself, then you start to see the added advantage of a tracking camera in this kind of production itself. Okay. So we have about 21 person online right now. So I appreciate if you guys will just say hello and, so that I know that you are with us. And then if you have any questions regards to webinars, regards to the production, or you have questions about how we actually do the productions, and just feel free to actually post the questions onto the Facebook. So if some of the questions are interesting, we will just bring it up so that the rest of the people can be highlighted or can be prompted to actually the attention to this particular question itself. However, so before we actually go into the actual show itself, we will actually cut into the intro trailer, and then we will cut into me in the virtual studio. So shall we actually go into the intro? Hi everyone. So now you see me inside this virtual studio, and can you overlay the roving camera? So we actually have a roving camera that's pointing at me, that's handled by my colleague Willie. So this is where the virtual camera or the virtual studio actually comes into the picture. So can we slide the virtual studio into half so that the audience can see? Now, can you see? Okay, just stay there. I will walk from one end to the other end. So you see, I'm actually right now in the virtual studio set. So you will see a virtual video wall behind me, and you see a virtual LED panel on the floor. Basically, as I walk, you can see how we slice the production between real world and virtual world. Now I'm in the real world, the physical world itself. So you can see that as really also walk between the physical world into the virtual world. This is actually how we cut across. Okay? So this is actually the virtual set. Now, it's programmed such a way that it fits into the dynamic physical world, so that when the camera is pointing at me, where I'm actually being positioned in the virtual world is close to realism. Stepping on the floor, I can move forward, the camera pointing at me. I can move backward as far as next to the wall. I can move to this side. Of course, I can't move too much because there's still a crop, but the movement, the distance where I can move is much greater right now. So I can actually have different so-called information that is being displayed, and I can even go close to it. Right now I'm actually on the left side or the right side, or depending on where you are looking at. So is this real? People might challenge me and say, oh, Michael, probably this is all pre-productions. Is this real? Can we show CNA live? Okay, some of you out there, if you have a YouTube browser next to you, open the YouTube browser and go into CNA live, and you'll be actually watching the exact show right now. So this is to prove to you that this production right now is actually live. So obviously, besides showing a YouTube video on the video wall, we can also show PowerPoint or a remote speaker as well. But before we actually go into a remote speaker, let's talk about what other things that we can actually show here. But okay, as this is live, we have not done a lot of rehearsal, so I might at times jump from one to another. Yes, I will always be looking at my handphone because I don't want to miss any questions that's been posted. So excuse me if you see me like keep staring at my phone. I'm not sending text to anyone, but I'm just looking at some of the questions. So yes, Javier actually asked, for this, you using vMix? Yes, we are using vMix with a combination of other 3D engine as well. And Fang Yuan actually asked, am I using Unreal? No, we are not using Unreal. We are actually using a 3D engine that is much older than Unreal, to be honest with you. This engine, in fact, has been around in the market for the last 30 years. And it's much more stable. And but of course, Unreal also has its own advantage. We sort of like shared some of the resources between Unreal and also our existing 3D engine. Okay, now I'm going to have my roving camera standing next to me and actually show you what is the presenter's view. Okay, so now you see on the presenter's view, I'll be actually looking at two 55-inch TV. Maybe Willie can actually go close. So there's two TV here. One is actually the audience view, is what I will see or what the audience will see. So usually, as and when, I will always look at that screen is to basically to see where am I standing in the right position. Just now when the YouTube was playing, where is it? Make sure I don't block it. I don't stand further away. So that is actually the audience view. It gives me a sense of my position in the whole virtual studio itself. Then on the right-hand side is actually the PowerPoint slides or video view. So this is where whatever that is being projected behind me in the video wall is actually projected in this screen. So if I have maybe a remote speaker that connects, I'll be looking at the remote speaker as real time on this particular screen itself. And then next is actually behind the camera. As you see, we're using the Sony PTZ camera. Behind the camera is the teleprompter. So in this teleprompter is where I load my scripts. And on these scripts, I can have full control over it. I can change the speed. I can pause and then read from the script itself. And then basically, this is how it assists the moderator or presenter. I don't have to memorize. So below the camera is where we actually project so-called comments or any other pages that is here. And this will actually help me to say, let's say if I don't want to look at my handphone, I want to look at the monitor below, I can do that. Or sometimes the mixing stations or the producer has any message that they want to send to me, they can actually send to me via this monitor itself. Okay, thanks, really. Okay, now let's actually remove the roving camera overlay. So we don't need to see the roving camera overlay already. Let's talk about what are the animated objects that we can actually show on the screen itself. Can we bring out one of the objects? Oh, okay. I need to stand closer to this. So this is my F1 sports car. I have it imported into my studio. So we can actually bring in any animated 3D objects into the studio. Like in this case, we actually bring in a sports car. The next object, if I'm doing a medical conference and I want to talk about the human body, the skeletal, I can also bring up the skeletal as well. Maybe we can actually zoom in a little bit more into the objects. Okay, can we have the camera zooming into the objects? Yes. Okay. So the camera, basically, the tracking camera can actually zoom into the particular 3D objects into very detail. Okay, can we have the next object? Oh, this is a machine. I must be not stand in the way of the machine. Oh, the machine is going to jump. Oh, no. should fall back. It probably will jump later. There you go. Can we bring in another object? So if there's any particular object that you want to illustrate, or a new machine that you have developed or manufactured, we can actually have someone scan the objects or recreate the object in a 3D model and bring it in. And of course, in business, we have a lot of presentation on charts. All these charts can also be brought up, and we can also talk about the charts. We can go as close as possible. So there's a perspective of depth and space between the presenter and the graphs itself. Oh, yes. Lucas asked, no shadow effect as well? There is. But because I'm actually standing on a projected video wall, so the shadows are not there. But if I'm actually standing on a so-called a material platform, the software is capable of rendering shadows onto the floor. It is possible. So that's to answer your questions. So we can have shadows. We can actually have reflections as well. All these are actually possible with this software that we are using. So, and the perspective of the so-called, you see how I walk, is image the angle of the surface. It's very real. Okay, now we can also bring in a remote speaker, and obviously during this COVID-19, traveling is actually very limited. And what a lot of presenters or a lot of the speakers are not, they don't have the luxury of being flown over to Singapore to do any so-called presentations, but we can actually remotely connect to a live speaker. So let's bring on my colleague from another room. This is Derek. Hi, Derek.
Hello, hi, Michael. Hello.
Yes. So in this situation, I'm wearing a IEM, in-ear monitoring, which allow me to hear what my remote speakers is saying, and we can actually have conversations with the remote speaker. How are you, Derek?
Yep. Great. Thanks for having me, Michael.
So I understand that
nice
you have
studio today.
Thank you. As I understand that you have a PowerPoint to present, so we can actually bring up the PowerPoint into the presentations. And of course, we don't want to leave Derek and a PowerPoint at the back of the wall. Let's cut to him full screen. And Derek, please take over.
Sure. Thank you so much, Michael. Okay, so as you can see, like what Michael mentioned, if you have overseas remote speaker coming in, because normally they will fly into Singapore, but due to this pandemic, they can't really do that. Okay, but if you have them, don't worry, they can always connect to us virtually, and you can do their presentation or their keynote speaking as per normal, with their PowerPoint slides on screen as what you can see now. Okay, so just allow me to introduce a little bit more about our virtual studio sets. If you have been with us during the first episode, right, you should have know a little bit more about it, but don't really let me bring you through. Okay, so for our 3D virtual studio sets, right, there's actually many styles that we can provide depending on the nature of your event as well. Okay, be it a corporate style, or is it, a product launch style, a news station style, or we also have things that are more thematic. Okay, if you have I would say a futuristic, your theme is digitalization, these are the kind of style that you can go for, as what you can see on my slide. But not to worry, if some of you have the concerns in terms of color, customizations, if you think that the current one that I'm showing has too much screens, okay, we can always lower down the number of screens just for you. Okay, we also have different home penthouse style. We have news station style. We have many news station style in actual fact. Okay, quite a number of it. And the thing about this is that because it's 3D, we can do a close-up shot, because if you can see, okay, from the photos over here, I have 4 photos. Okay, we can do a close-up on the example, the top right corner. Okay, and then we zoom out to the one on the bottom right, and then that is where the MC or the moderator, the talent is standing at to start off the show. So there's actually movement, just like what you have seen, rather than a very static 2D kind of shot that you get. Yep, so more news station styles, large studio sets, mega studio sets that you want. Some of you might be thinking the background, is it changeable? Yes, it is. Okay, we have a background, like example for a MBS shot at Marina Bay, so it looks nice. Day shot, night shots, as long as we have the file, okay, we can definitely put it in for you. So these are just some samples, like I mentioned. Everything is customizable. All right. So more or less, that is for my presentation. So thanks for having me, Michael.
Short presentation, and I will see you when you come back to the office.
Thanks, Michael. Bye bye.
So this is actually how we bring in a remote speaker live together with his or her PowerPoint, and we can just pass the time over, cut into the remote speaker full screen for his presentation. And then after we just cut back to the camera. Obviously, the changes of the graphics are customizable. You can change according to your branding or according to the likes that we require itself. Okay, now, so I have another question that asked, how long do you need to build up such 3D sets? Now, we have about 50 over templates. The templates, as what Derek has shown you, you can easily adopt the template, and then what we can do is to change the color or modify the material. Now, this will take very, very short time, like within half a day, we can do it. But if you are looking at creating a whole different so-called style altogether, it might take longer. So if in that case, we need a 3D modeler that come in, and sometimes we might just need to only build some fixtures like wall or the floor or the truss or the window, or sometimes we might take even much longer to build almost from zero, a full studio from zero. And that will probably take about 2-3 weeks or sometimes up to 1 or 2 months. So it really depends on the complexity itself. But most of the time we do encourage our clients, says that why don't you just adopt the style, and then from the style we can add on furnitures or window or a wall or a video wall. That will be a lot faster. So I hope I answered your questions. Okay, is there any more questions? If not, of course, we not only have indoor studio kind of presentation, we can also try to mimic a outdoor environment itself. However, we probably cannot just change to an outdoor straight away. There is some limitations, but after all, we are actually doing this live. So we need to actually load another set. What we can do is that while my crew cut me to the raw camera feed, they will actually load another set. Of course, as we continue, we will try to improve the software so that eventually we can actually able to quickly change into an outdoor set immediately. So that will actually give us that added advantage. So as soon as you are ready, Okay, just yeah. So as you can see, this is all behind the scene. So you get to see some of the behavior that that happen when the life is not supposed to be. So okay, it's getting cold in the studio. As you can see, we are actually outdoor. So for gimmicks and props, they want me to wear this because it's now snowing. Ah, wow. So, okay. So what we have here, we have ourselves on a glacier. It's snowing. It's getting really very cold here. Yeah, we can, like I said, we can actually do outdoor scene. This is something that is, at the moment, this is actually for fun. But yes, we do have clients that say that they want to do what you call a webinar in an outdoor environment, and obviously on a mountaintop. So we couldn't find a mountaintop in Singapore for them. So this is the best we can do. So we have the scenes like this that will give a little bit more of a creativity itself. So again, the tracking camera actually comes in very handy. It tracks me as I walk along this glacier. So yeah, well, due to global warming, the glacier is breaking up. So we have to do this very quickly. So is there any other questions that you have? Let's see. Okay. So there's no more questions. So this is today. Thanks for joining us. Today's session is actually meant to be a very short behind the scene of how we actually develop or produce a 3D virtual studio, be it in an internal studio or in an in-studio environment or a simulated outdoor environment. But of course, we are not Hollywood. We still need more improvement. We still need to have like wind. We still need to have clouds, things like that. But we are getting there. But it still gives us a lot of space for creativity. So if no other questions, thanks for joining us. If you do have some other questions that you want to post on the comment page, please do so. We will pick it up and then we will just give you a reply at a later stage. And if some of you actually catch this show after the event, if you have any questions, you can actually direct contact us, send us a message, or if you want us to discuss with us how we can help to produce a webinar for your next webinar, something that is more immersive and trendy, yes, feel free to reach out to us. And last but not all, thanks for joining us again, and I hope and wish you guys a good night. Thank you very much.